from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Catholic. This is Marianela Nunez, and with me today, guess who is here? Jan! Hey, Jan.
Hey, Marianela.
You thought I was going to say Mike, right, people?
I know. It was a big reveal right there.
Yeah.
Yes, Marianela is correct. This is John Morrow, Marianela Nunez, and we are hosting, I think, only the second podcast ever without Mr. Mike Walsh.
Yeah. Are you people excited or are you sad? I don't know. Maybe you can send us some messages on social media and we'll find out.
That is a great idea. I love it. I love it. So how are you?
I am really well. I just, came back from Boston and I'm smart.
Oh.
I think I'm smart. They said, if you go to Boston, you come back with 3 credits just by going.
Really?
Yeah, because people are smart there. So just by going there, you get 3 credits. So, I came back with that.
Wow, I'm jealous. I think I'm going to have to go now. I have to up my game. You've just upped the game here in the Chancery. So what were you doing in Boston?
I was at a National Enrollment and Advancement Management Conference with Partners in Mission. Mm-hmm. And it was such an amazing experience. I was with really top-notch people in the field and kind of learning. I just love to see what the best practices are and, what's new in the enrollment management world. And this was my first conference with enrollment management folks only, and I was really excited.
So people from all around the nation?
Yes, we had about 400 people attended this conference, and they had they divided up between the advancement and the enrollment track. So I did the enrollment track because that's my main responsibility in the Diocese of Camden, but kind of met people in both sides. So It was incredible. And I was able to cruise as part of this conference. We did the Spirit of Boston. Can you believe that?
What?
Yes, and a Red Sox game.
Now, come on.
I went to the stadium, yeah.
Okay, how was it?
It was great. I danced on Dominican music because every time a Dominican player would come up, they would have merengue.
Oh,
so
fun.
I was like, look at that, I know that music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also got to kind of go around and check out the city and, went to the Black Rose pub, which is a very popular one in Boston. And it was lovely. So you would go back if you had the opportunity? I will. I think I need to do this. I think it's swamp. You can go on the lake and kind of
duck boats?
Yes.
Yeah, where it's a boat that goes in the water, but then it can come back on land?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that I want to do with the kids. It's kind of fun. And I didn't drive. I flew there, so that was kind of it was better because I didn't want to drive for almost 6 hours. I didn't know how the traffic in New York was going to be, and I was like, I would just do the 15-minute to the airport trip and then come back and do the airport thing. I just keep reading all these stories about, how the flying right now is a little wild and you might get on or might not. So any flying tips for our listeners right now? Just make sure you pick a good airline, at least, at the very minimum, because the last times I've traveled, I've had really bad experiences. So this time everything went smooth, and I got in. There was a delay for an hour, but then that went well. So I was good. Good. And Boston was great, and I met a lot of good people of faith, people who are trying to make sure that Catholic education continues in the U.S. and above. We had somebody who came from Alaska, actually, to this conference. So they're now thinking, maybe we should do this internationally. And they have some traction, so who knows? Great. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. So what else is going on for the summer? We have July 4th weekend coming up. Yeah, and are you excited? I am excited. I have the week off, July 4th. I have family coming in from California and Texas, and my siblings are already here in Jersey, and we're having a big sibling reunion with my parents down in Atlantic City, where they live. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've seen some of my siblings from the West Coast, so.
Should be good.
That is amazing.
We're going to take a family photo. So I don't know if anybody has taken a family photo, which I have not in, 25 years. So we're trying to color coordinate my
White is the color for the beach,
it's
right?
white and blue from what I hear. So
Okay.
My niece, who's 14, I think she might be boycotting this whole process. But she just said, why can't we wear what we want? And I was like, because you would wear just T-shirts and sweatpants. So no, but it
Make
should
it
be
pretty.
fun.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, I never thought I'd be one of those people that were like, I'll take, I don't know.
Now you'll have to show me that picture afterwards. Like, I'll be curious.
I'm excited. We'll see how this really works out. I don't know. We'll see. But what about you? What are you doing?
I'm going camping to the Hershey Park.
I love Hershey.
Yeah, so I'm leaving on Friday, and then, we're coming back on Monday.
Wow.
So
I went to Hershey for the first time during COVID because we wanted to just get out of Dodge, right? We had a blast.
Oh.
It was safe. They were limiting the number of people at the time, and I'd never been to Hershey, and it was just so family friendly.
That's great. Did you go to the camping site?
No, we stayed in a hotel.
Okay.
It was like December.
I'm going to do the camping thing, so people wish me luck. Pray for me, because, I don't know.
Right. Wait, have you been camping before?
Once, and it didn't go really well, so I'm hoping this time it'll be better.
I will keep my fingers crossed for no rain. How's
Yes.
that?
Okay.
Yeah.
There was rain.
Yeah.
The one
I'm sure there
time I
was.
went. And there was some leaking in my tent.
Oh, a classic camping experience, actually. Yes. You cannot. I don't think you can call it camping unless it rains and your tent leaks.
Yeah.
So
I might do some glamping.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
All right.
All right. So maybe we should introduce our guest. And who do we have on the show today?
So we have Dr. DelleMonache, who is the Director of Religious Education for the Diocese of Camden. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
We are so happy that you are here, and we can't wait to, have people really get to know you in our podcast.
Oh, well, it feels like everyone's saying how new I am, and I've been here a little over 3 months now, but it feels like 33 months, 33 years sometimes, just because it's been so immersive and just so wonderful. And when you're in the right place, it feels good.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's kind of like last week we went to the Eucharistic revival, and you were there with your family and your mom, and it was so great to see you and with the people of the Diocese of Camden, and know that you have a lot to do with the education that's going on in terms of religious ed for the diocese, and you're really part of the Eucharistic revival. How's that going for you?
Well, last weekend in Atlantic City was an absolute privilege to be a part of. I'm part of the core committee helping to prepare for all this, and we were expecting 200 to 300, maybe 400 people, and the fact that over 1,000 people came, and it just the beauty and the energy and the receptiveness of the folks that were on the boardwalk. There was no issues. It was crowded, and I think the folks pushing the jitneys and the rickshaws might have been a little annoyed with the group of folks from now and then. But besides that, honestly, folks were, what is this about? Who is this for? What is this? And it was just wonderful to engage people and to see people of all walks of life participate in it. I was so blessed. My parents were with me, and my husband, David, my brother, John, and his wife, Laura. And the six of us were able to participate in it. And at the very end, the final scene was the one that was most impactful to me, the final altar, because in the craziness of Atlantic City, and you're coming down, and now it had gotten dark and all the lights are blinking.
Yeah.
But when we got to that last altar, this beautiful, the sisters who were singing, it was two sisters with guitars.
Franciscan sisters.
It was in the simplicity of the music. I think it just brought the silence that we needed there. They sang, and then there was this just beautiful peacefulness. And here we are in the middle of the Atlantic City Boardwalk on a Saturday in June, and Jesus was there. It was an absolute privilege to be a part of. It was an emotional one for me, for sure, but it was beautiful, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it, really.
That was incredible.
And, I think that was one of the, when Father Robert Hughes, our Vicar General was on, he had talked about, some of the hope to hold it in Atlantic City was to say that even in the busyness of this city, there can be a moment of peace and quiet with our Lord. And like you said, Lee, I think a lot that came through loud and clear. It's so many people along the sides. Mike and I talked about this the other day too. Like so many people that just stopped to either genuflect or ask questions. It was a real witness to faith, that's for sure.
It was, and that just by stopping and asking questions, those folks are thinking about it. Right?
Yeah.
And they went home and said, "You won't believe what I saw on the boardwalk tonight."
Yeah.
And those conversations happen. And
That's
you
a revival.
never know. That's a revival. You never know what that's going to inspire. Those are seeds that are being planted, and we have to take advantage of each and every moment.
And I feel like especially in your role, that would touch you even even more so than this hardened journalist anyway.
You're so hard.
Yes, I am so hardened. Did you feel like that?
Absolutely. And that not only the role that I have here with the diocese, but my background and my love for research and education, a lot of it is based on experiential learning, experience. What from our life experience can we translate into knowledge? And in this case, into developing our faith. So the fact that experience happened, I know my faith, I went in not knowing what was going to happen to me and came out of it. I know I was moved. I know my faith grew. It got a little bit deeper, more intentional about what the Eucharist means and the impact that it has. And anytime we can provide the faithful with experiences that they can just reflect on and think about, and how am I going to apply this to my life in another way, in a new and different way, that is growing the faith. And that's a privilege to be a part of.
And one of the things that I really thought it was amazing about the procession was the fact that it was so more multicultural as well. Like just, those ladies that did the dance were amazing. I think they were from the Philippines.
Yes.
Yes. And, they had like a Spanish choir sing, and, they just made it so beautiful that the way they put the altars, like they just, took their time to decorate it in such a beautiful way in the middle of the craziness of the Atlantic City. So I thought that really kind of like touched me as I saw the development of it.
Well, Marianella, you bring up a good point about the universality of the church. And people, the word Catholic means universal. And that experience was exactly the I guess it encapsulates what Catholicity is. That the fact that no matter your culture, no matter your economic background, no matter where you came from, no matter the depth of your faith knowledge, everybody belonged there. And in every aspect of the church, that is true. Whether we believe it or not, that is the actual truth of the church. That the universality of it allows us, no matter where you come from, no matter what your experiences bring, no matter what brokenness you're coming to that moment in time with, you belong. You belong.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And now that you were talking about belongingness, like tell us about your experience kind of like onboarding in the Diocese of Camden in this new role that is huge. For people who don't know, basically Lee is in charge of like educating all the children of the Diocese of Camden in the faith, and like not doing it herself, but leading people to do the right thing with our kids in terms of educating them in the faith. How has that kind of like impacted your life? How do you feel?
Oh my God! Again, just over. I don't want to say overwhelmed because I feel like I'm okay. I haven't lost control of anything yet. No, what it is it's a true appreciation for the foundation that was laid before I got here. I look at this role, the role that I have, as a leg of a relay race. And the baton's been handed to me. So there's been very capable and amazing people that ran that race before it was my turn, but now it's my turn. So the baton's handed to me. And the race doesn't end until we all get to heaven. This is a race that does not end.
How beautiful.
And that is what faith formation is. And I think religious education can be misleading, that term, because it gives the feel that, well, when you go to school, when you finish 8th grade, you graduate. When you finish 12th grade, you graduate. When you finish college, you graduate. So there's this feeling of when you finish preparing for a sacrament, you graduate. No, that's faith. The faith journey is completely different from the educational journey. and that it is ongoing. If the one message I want to make sure that is crystal clear is that formation never ends. Formation is ongoing. Yes, we were prepared for the sacraments, and when you're 7 years old, 6 years old, you learn about reconciliation and the Eucharist, and when you're 13, 14 years old, you learn about confirmation and so forth. And as we go through life, the sacraments, however they encounter with you. But when you're finished, or when you receive that sacrament, you're not really finished with it. And that's really the I guess the clarity that has come to me in this role, is that the importance of folks understanding that, yes, that process of preparing for the sacrament might be complete, but every time we go to Mass and receive the Eucharist, we have an opportunity to learn and be formed in a new and different way. Every time we give witness, we're encouraged to go to confession multiple times, right? Not just once, but to do it a few times, do it at least once a year, if not more often than that. It's always a chance to re-energize, to relook, to see what it is that I could be learning differently, to see what role does Jesus have in my life at this moment. What Jesus was to me when I was 6 years old and 7 years old at the Eucharist is very different from when I received the Lord now in the Eucharist. It's the same Eucharist, right? It's the same sacrament, but it's very different. And how do I apply it to my life as I'm living it now? And that's the key, I think, in terms of religious education. I prefer the term formation much more, because it's an ongoing process. And not just for the children and families of our diocese, but for the folks that are doing it, the catechists, the teachers in our schools. They have an amazing responsibility and a beautiful role in our world, because they are planting seeds. They're planting seeds of this faith formation that one day someone's going to reap and, pick the fruit of these seeds. And it's not going to be the teachers or the catechists, but it's going to be someone, and they planted the seeds. And that's a tremendous responsibility. So anything that I can do to equip them, to give them resources, to inspire in them creativity that they can then take in their ministry and use would be that's my goal. That's my goal. It's definitely not to hand out step-by-step instructions on how to do things, because we want the teachers and the catechists to be authentic to who they are. And they can't be authentic to who they are if I'm busy giving them step-by-step instructions on how to do things.
Well, I think you've brought up a good point, and the fact that, it's an ongoing formation. I mean, really one of the main impetus for the Eucharistic revival is, that came out of a Pew study from a few years ago that's saying 70% of Catholics don't believe in the real presence of the Eucharist. So what you're talking about is exactly an example of that. Formation continues, and though we might think we understand something, either we don't, or we fall away from it, or I think that's one of the reasons why this formation is, like I said, so lifelong.
Important. And I think that Pew study, what that revealed is that I honestly think the majority of Catholics who answered that question, it's not that they don't believe in Jesus Christ's presence, they don't understand that Jesus is the real presence in the Eucharist. It's not a symbol. The Eucharist is not a symbol for Jesus. It is Jesus. And I think just through life and formation, and maybe there's just it's just a misunderstanding, or not a complete knowledge. It's a partial knowledge. And if we can do things, provide activities and resources and education and formation that can help people re-engage and just broaden their knowledge, then they'll recognize that, oh, wait a minute, that is Jesus. It's not representing Jesus. It is Jesus. Right. And we've got our work cut out for us.
And I think, one of the things that you mentioned about this is an ongoing, like it's for life. If you think about it in a way of relationship with Jesus, like you never want your relationship with Jesus to end. And as part of your relationship with Jesus, you have to kind of like learn about him. And the more you learn, the closer you are to him. So that relationship is huge as we think about formation, and not just kind of like something that we do for the sake of receiving the sacrament, but for the sake of being closer to him.
Exactly. Relationship. I mean, we're all married in here, and we know what it means to be in a relationship with our spouse, right? We fell in love with our spouse. We're married to our spouse. He's not the same person that we married whatever many years ago, right? That love, relationships are an ongoing. They need work. They need what I know about my husband today is very different from what I knew about my husband when I married him 25 years ago, and a few years before that when I met him. So that that's what this is. And Marianella, you really are emphasizing a very important point about the relationship piece with our faith, because it is, all relationships are constantly growing, changing. Right. We're learning about each other in new and different ways as we grow, and our life experiences affect us. We're different. It changes us. It impacts us. So at the core, of course, you hope at the core you're still who you are, but you're evolving. You're constantly changing and evolving. And we have to recognize that our faith is the same way. Yeah. And if that's the case, then we need to feed that. Right. We need to immerse ourselves, whether it's reading, whether it's movies, whether it's, going to mass, homilies, also podcasts, reading the Star Herald, all these wonderful opportunities that are out there to get to learn our faith and discover things about our faith that we thought we already knew. I'm like, wait a minute, there's so much more there to learn.
Yeah, and you were saying, we're all married and our spouses are growing, but so are we. Who I was, I've talked about on the podcast before that, I came to the Catholic faith as an adult. What I wanted to know in 2005 when I was coming into the church and what I want to know in 2022 are completely different. I'm learning the basics 15 years ago. Now I'm asking deeper questions. And I think as an adult, I think I often, we think religious education, we think children, but how important it is that for us as adults to have an outlet to continue to learn.
That was, Jen, you touched on something which made this position attractive to me, in that when Father Hughes brought this position to my attention and said, hey, I think you should look at this. What he emphasized to me was that the bishop and their strong emphasis on family faith formation, not just the child's faith formation, but the family faith formation. And I loved the bishop's vision. It's innovative, yet it's old-fashioned in that it's what the faith began as. And through life and circumstances and the culture, how the culture evolved, we got more into the, a scholastic model, a classroom model. And now the culture and our world today really demands that we take it more as a family model and a family approach. So how can we leverage the strengths of what we're already doing and the amazing gifts and talents of the catechists and teachers that are already in place to refocus or broaden that perspective and their energies into a manner that engages the whole family, not just the child. And that's what's going to give sustainability to the church.
Right. And I don't know if I talked about this with Father Hughes when he was on, but we're not criticizing in any way the catechists that are already out there. No. It's not like they've fallen down on the job at all.
No.
It's just
the world's fallen down around them. It's what's happened.
Exactly. Yep. It's personal responsibility as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that is on the past couple of weeks I started meeting with catechists one-on-one. And when one of the questions I ask is what drew you to this ministry and what keeps you in this ministry? And the way they all talk about families and children and seeing the energy and the joy in families when they come to receive a sacrament. I mean, that it's beautiful and that you can't fake that. Yeah. When they share those stories, it's such a privilege to hear them speak of that journey with the families that they take. So they want to work with families. That's what I did a survey when I first came here, and one of the top responses about what they want support with is how to engage families better. So our catechists and teachers, they recognize, they see it, they want to do it. And which is what, let's maximize that then. Let's leverage it. And that in the long run, I mean, it's good for the church. It's good for the sustainability of the church.
So you asked them the question about that, how they're drawn into this ministry. I would ask you the question of how you've been called to this ministry.
When I look back on my career, with one exception, a couple-year exception, all of my positions, professional positions, have been with organizations that have been sponsored by Catholic, whether it's by Sisters in Order, whether it's a diocesan, it's all been in Catholic organizations. And at first, coming out of college, I was in communications and marketing. So that's my first job was with St. Francis Hospital in Wilmington, Delaware. Well, I had interviews at different places, but what was it about as a 23-year-old, I didn't know what it just felt. It felt comfortable and it felt at home. Well, over the decades since then, it's absolutely where I'm supposed to be. And I truly, truly believe in the responsibilities that we all have as recognizing gifts in other people. Because all along my career path, someone has said to me, I think you're going to be good at this. Look at this. Your gifts lend yourself to something like this. Vocational calling, essentially, is what that is. And Father Hughes was that for me and for this position. And he brought this position to my attention. He said, Lee, we've known each other for a number of years. I'd done some committee work with the Diocese of Camden, got to know him really well that way. And when this position became available, we were in communication about something completely different. I didn't even know this position was available. And we were emailing back and forth, and we finished talking about that. And he says, Lee, by the way, I want you to be aware of this. And he tells me about this position. And at first I was like, religious education, I've never been a catechist. I haven't taught religious prep courses. Father, does he know who he's talking to? Like, is this really what? And then he sent me the position description, and I happened to run into him I was at a meeting. I'm a member of Church of the Incarnation in Mantua, and I was at a meeting there, and he happened to be there, which I didn't know he was going to be there. And there's the Holy Spirit at work again.
Absolutely.
And after the meeting, we started to chat, and I said, Father, I haven't let go of this, but I'm just. Why do you think I fit? Why do you think this is for me? And as he described the position and what the dreams of he and the bishop are, about the family piece, about engaging life, bringing through life experiences, and how can we maximize what's already in place to the current culture and needs of the world. And all these, he says, Lee, the work you did with athletes and the lay ministry program you ran there, and working with coaches and lay, the formation of the chaplains, that we had team chaplains, he said it all fits. And he outlined it. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, is this where I'm supposed to go? And to be open to that. And I truly recognize the value and the importance. I think we all have a responsibility that if you recognize a gift in someone, tell them. If you recognize something in someone, tell them, say, you would be so good at, and whatever that is. Give them that is a gift. The Lord's talking to us that way. That's the Holy Spirit at work saying, sometimes, we're our own worst critics, right? We don't want to.
Absolutely.
For real, yes.
And the second person we don't believe, but first, when we don't believe ourselves, we don't believe the people closest to us. Right, our spouses, our parents, those people. No, they're just saying that because they love me, right? But it's the people in that circle that and respect, those friendships, those nice relationships, but they don't have anything to gain by telling you something like that. That's why I think it's so important. It's not just false encouragement, but when you see a gift in someone, tell them, you have a gift here.
It's funny
you need to show them that way.
When I was in college, I was, a communications major. Actually, I think I was an English major, to be honest. I switched some point because I just like to read, and that's all I want to do. I didn't like to talk, which is a shock, I know, for those who know me now.
On the podcast,
I know.
Interviewing Mark Wolver and Dr. DelleMonache here.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm in the same breath as Mark Wolver, please.
And I remember it was my senior year, and I was working at the college paper as an editor, not as a writer. And my professor wrote on my paper, I know you want to be an editor, but you are a writer. Don't bury that. And I kept that. I still have that piece of paper. It was, I think, my last article I probably ever turned in. And I kept that because I thought, maybe he's right. And then it turns out later I did eventually stop not talking, and now I can write. But, you're absolutely right. And he's the only person who had ever told me that in the 4 years of college. So,
oh my goodness, we should send him a copy of the Star Herald now.
Look at this. See, we wouldn't have this managing editor if he didn't do that.
But speaking about college, why don't you tell us a little bit about your previous experience before you got here? You were just kind of alluding to it a little bit with the athletes. So
I had the privilege of leading a very innovative sport ministry called the Institute for Sport, Spirituality, and Character Development. And it was housed at Newman University for 20 years. And I was there for most of it, for about 17 of their 20 years, in different roles. I pretty much had every position in the Institute, and the last 7 there as director. And the privilege of that was that through the lens of sports, we were able to hopefully inspire in thousands of athletes and hundreds of coaches some type of engagement, a deeper engagement with their faith. So I always looked at it as wherever they were on their faith journey, my hope was by the time they were done with us, that they moved further along.
Sure.
Newman, being a Catholic Franciscan university, we had very diverse population of students from different faith backgrounds, different cultural and economic backgrounds, and coaches as well. So they weren't all Catholic. And the ones that were Catholic weren't all practicing Catholics. So we had Christians, we had Muslims, we had no faith, we had all and everywhere in between. And the most amazing thing when I look back on that time, and this clarity came to me about a year ago, is that when I look back on the students that thrived, the student athletes who engaged with the ones that thrived were the ones that three basic needs were met for them. That essentially all of it, not just young people, but all of us have a need to belong, right? We have a need to feel like a part of a community. We have a need to have someone believe in us, genuinely believe in us, that need for a connection. And then thirdly, we need a belief system to make sense of the world. So we need a set of values, a set of core values to make sense of the world. So I look at it as community, connection, and core values. When those three needs are met, I look back and I could start naming names of the student athletes that with those three needs were met on a consistent basis. They're the ones that are thriving today. So, and I'm making the hypothesis that if we set that up in any type of environment, that will work. The same thing that would happen.
What was it again?
Community, connection, core values. If everybody, you think about, especially and this is the epiphany that came to me working with teams, because I had the privilege also in that role of working with coaches from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Catholic League. Mm-hmm. So they're working with a different, a younger population. And again, the same different economic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, faith backgrounds. And when we were going through the training and we were talking about those needs of community, connection, and core values, we really unpacked that, and I said, I guarantee you, when you look at every team and think of all the environments that we're in, whether it's a classroom environment, an office environment, a work group environment, a friend group, the only place that all three of those needs can be met, might be only being met, is with you. So I said, think about your teams. And I bet each one of and it was a reflective exercise. And those coaches look back, think about your teams. I bet you can identify at least one child on that team that isn't having those needs met outside of your team.
Gotcha. Yeah. And
that's why it's that the role of coach, the role of teacher, the role of catechist is a sacred role. The role of parent is a sacred role, because we have the ability, we have the privilege of being in a position to create a community where every member of that community feels like they belong. We have the privilege of being that person who's going to believe in those members of the community, right? We can be that person who genuinely believes that you have value, you belong here, that no matter where you are, whether if it's a team on the depth chart of your bench, or whether it's the work group that you're in or the group of friends, you have value in this group. And then the important thing, and what we're fortunate enough working for a Catholic organization, so forth with a church and with a school, is we have a ready-made set of gospel values right there to be the belief system to help us make sense in the world, to help negotiate, understand those challenges that come to us throughout life. But if we have a set of core values that we can operate from, we can make those decisions.
So we only need to work on the two, community and connection.
Right.
Because we have one down.
We've got the gospel values right there. They're right there.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's so amazing. I actually just kind of like listening to you. It looks so clear. It's kind of like crystal clear how this theory really works. I see it in churches where like they're really doing a good job making sure the community and people feel that they belong and that they're valued and that they have something to give and that, they're using their talents because they're valuable and they believe in people. And then just kind of like following our Catholic tradition, and kind of like it's so good the way you put it. I love that formula. I think I'm going to continue to talk like that from now on. Isn't
I think
it?
Well, it's also, I mean, if you put it like that, community, connection, core values. I think that anybody listening to this right now can reflect, who do I know that, that's in my community that I connect with and share core values with already? Like, how can I lift somebody up that I know?
Yep.
And how can I keep myself open to needing to be lifted up as well? So it's like, I mean, we all know we're all called to be catechists in some way, but we don't have to overcomplicate it.
No, that's a wonderful way of putting it. Because I think we do. We get into our heads like, I don't know the catechism. I don't know what the Bible says about these things.
Right.
I don't know what else. And we get focus on what are gospel values: reverence, integrity, courage, right? Respect, service. Those. Everybody can get behind those. And that's, again, coming back to our conversation earlier about the universality of the gospel values, right? Who can't get behind integrity, right? Who doesn't want a work group where their coworkers are people of integrity? There's a gospel value. So whether if you're not, you don't have to be working in a Catholic organization to be an advocate for the value of integrity. The New Catechism and people who have written about it, this notion of accompaniment is a theme that keeps coming up. Yeah. And I love this theory of accompaniment, this theme of, it's not really a theory, it's the beauty in that walking with, not telling you what you should do. It's a way of showing mercy. It's a way of being of service to another person. How often when you're with someone you come across, whether it's someone that you care about or someone you walk past on the street and they're in tears, right? And all they need is somebody just to sit next to them. Just sit next to them, and that is accompanying them on the journey. When we don't know what to say, right? When someone goes through something real, I don't know what to say, so we don't call. That's the worst thing to do.
The gift of presence.
The gift of presence. That presence, accompaniment, that is really the crux of what the work and the research that I'm doing to make sure that all of our catechists and teachers feel that they are equipped to be present, to accompany their students, the children and their coworkers, to accompany them on the journey in whatever way the Lord calls them to. It could be real deep. It could be just, you're with me at this time and moment in time, and that's it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. But just to recognize that we have a ministry of presence to be attentive to and to be intentional with.
I may have told this story on the podcast before, and if so, listeners, I'm sorry. But I think when we moved back from Germany for a year, I just could not go back to work. I couldn't do it, and I worked in a bakery. And I remember my first day that I was left alone in charge of the bakery. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, right? This woman comes in, and she was so excited, and she's looking at like all the goods and I was like, well, what can I help you pick? And she's like, oh, I have to be very, I want to make this one special. She's like, I just found out I was cancer free for the first time in like 5 years. And I mean, she was super thin, her hair was growing back. You could tell that she had been through the ringer. I bought her a pastry, and we sat and talked for like half an hour, and she told me her journey. And you know what? I was honored that I was a blip on the radar of her life story. But I was honored that she shared it with me. So, like I said, we don't have to overthink it. It's just the gift of presence, Marianne. I really like that. Really like that.
So true.
I love it. And, I think in our Catholic Church, we have that huge opportunity to really kind of like bring people together, to accompany them, and to be with the people. I think that's what Jesus was about. He was kind of like always walking with the apostles and walking with the people and being with them, and not just kind of like a talking voice that would tell people what to do and not do the thing. He would also do the thing and walk the walk and even, do more than that and die on the cross for us. So I think the more we are like him, the more we are the church that he wanted us to be.
True. That's the genius. That's the genius of Jesus,
right?
In terms of the servant leadership, that he. So even from you take the religious part out of it, that's the genius of him. And then when you add in the Catholicity piece and that this religion that he's instituted for us, that's just
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's
Lee,
an absolute gift.
I just want to transition into kind of like this conversation because I think it just kind of like goes nicely into it. For those listeners who might be thinking, so what is the Office of Religious Education doing with the Office of Catholic Schools? Can you explain the rationale behind that change in our diocese? There's now 7 secretariats, and so we have the Secretariat of Education, and within that we have the Catholic Schools Office and the Religious Ed Office. So why is that change happening in the Diocese of Camden, and what is the rationale behind it?
I believe the way I interpret the rationale. This is a great question because, in fact, the catechists, the parish catechetical leaders are asking me that same question because they want to make sure that the religious ed efforts are being recognized with the respect that they certainly are due, and they certainly are. And from how I understand it and the way I'm operating moving forward, and I certainly know I have the support of the superintendent of schools and the Secretariat for Catholic Education, Dr. Watson, is that we're part of the same family. The business of Catholic education, for lack of a better word, is formation. It's to get us all closer to heaven, right? To deepen our relationship with Jesus. That's the ultimate goal of Catholic education. It's one family. Schools is one member of the family. Religious education is another member of the family. We each have distinct roles. We each have different purposes in terms of what our roles are, but they're both equally as important, and they both are contributing to the formation of the faithful in the Diocese of Camden. So it's a both and. I think there's certainly opportunities. And in fact, this morning was an excellent example of the value of religious education and Catholic schools being in the same secretariat. We were brainstorming the Eucharistic revival and how through religious ed in the Catholic schools, how can we be more intentional and different ideas and programming ideas, and how can we be supportive of the parishes and the schools. And the synergy and the creativity back and forth between all of us, we were equals at table. One wasn't more important than the other. Each brought value. An idea I brought up fed an idea that Bobby brought up, fed an idea that Mike brought up, that Marianella brought up. And it was just all bouncing off of each other. And it's because of the expertise of each of those areas that this beautiful new synergy and energy came out from it. So I think it's a beautiful. It makes a lot of sense when you look at other dioceses across the country. In fact, just look across the river in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Their secretariat is formation and education. So same thing. Catechesis and the schools fall under the same area. So it's not that we're doing anything different than what other dioceses across the world are doing. We're recognizing the benefit of harnessing the energies and the expertise of these two areas in one spot.
That's amazing, Lee. Thank you for answering that question so beautifully. I think, we are very excited to have your office have been part of ours because, we always try to strive to provide a good Catholic identity for our schools. And I think the value of having your expertise right next to our doors is amazing. And I think the teachers are going to continue to see that and experience that as we move forward in this model. So thank you for being so welcoming and so kind of like energetic about this new role and what it brings.
Oh, like I've said, it's an absolute privilege. Honestly, I thank the good Lord for leading me to this moment, and for Father Hughes for saying, "Hey, I see this in you." I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
So what are some of the new initiatives or hopes that you have coming down the line, if you have any to talk about?
Well, it's my answer to that, and it's the honest truth, is that they have yet, the specifics have yet to reveal themselves to me, because I've been blessed with the expectation that it's going to take me at least a year to get a lay of the land. So I am so grateful that I have the support and the patience of a diocese that's saying, meet everyone. Learn what their challenges are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, where the joys are. what's getting in the way of being successful, what is being successful, learn all that first. So I'm really taking the time to do due diligence, essentially. Just meeting everyone, getting the lay of the land, and seeing where what can be leveraged, where are the strengths that need to be leveraged, and if there's obstacles, can I minimize them? Is there something that I can do to help to minimize them? Or how can we figure out a way to strategize a way to get around them? I always think of the book, The Last Lecture, Randy Pausch. I don't know if anyone's read that a few years ago. I'll save the whole premise, but one of the things that he said in there was walls come up in our life not to stop us from doing things, but to see how badly we want to do things. And I thought, you know what? So maybe that wall came up because the direct route doesn't make sense. Maybe we need to go around. Maybe we need to dig a hole. Maybe we need to climb over. Maybe we need to go over here for a couple years first, and then the wall's going to come down and we'll be able to go over. So how badly do you want what's on the other side of the wall? Mm-hmm. That's what the wall's testing us to do. So that's why I'm taking the time to learn what the beauty is out there and see what we can maximize.
And talk about, core values and the gift of the Holy Spirit, because I think when anybody new comes in, those on the other side are like, oh, great, somebody's coming in with changes. No. And that, you know what I mean? Like, we all think
of course.
I have thought it when I get new employees or new bosses. It's like, uh-oh. Mm-hmm. But the idea of not changing anything and just to learn to listen. Yep. Which, again, is what, even what the synod is all about, right? The synod on synodality is all about, is listening. So that is a mouthful.
Say that to my times real fast.
Synod on synodality. See, I'm learning.
I had to, in my brain, I was, breaking that down letter by letter.
Get each syllable out.
Yeah, so nice job, Marianelle. But, yeah, it's all about listening. And the fact that you're taking a year, and like you said, when I first started here, too, the powers that be, including Mike Walsh, said, take a year. You have a year to learn our diocese. And that's what you're being encouraged to do. And get out in the parishes and know the hard-working men and women who are in religious education.
And doing wonderful things. There's 65 parishes in the Diocese of Camden, and my hope is to meet with the PCL at each and every one if they'll have me. But it's an absolute it's an absolute privilege. One of the last questions I ask them when I have my one-on-one meetings is I asked the parish catechal leader to dream with me. I said, dream with me. What do you see the future of religious education look like? And it's wonderful to hear what they're saying. And I don't want to disclose just because I want to get a critical mass first of what everyone's saying. But they're all beautiful, encouraging, hope-filled ideas that I can't wait to bring to fruition along with the PCLs. Because this isn't there's no solo work here. This is definitely a group effort.
Can you share any without giving up your sources, so to speak?
Well, they're all the emphasis on family, the emphasis on bringing them back to church, that they see them in church, social encounters, but the emphasis, I love hearing about the emphasis on family. So that's pretty consistent. They have different ideas of how to get there, but the overarching theme is family. They're saying that. That's what there's who would know better than our catechists that are out there with them now. And
when you talk family, are you talking all generations? Because I know that we've talked about this on the podcast. I'm sure you're hearing this in schools. Is a lot of what's coming out of the synod. We're just going to call it the synod. The responses of the synod are how our parishioners are fearful of the future of the church in the fact that generations are falling off. Yep. We're missing a good young adult, or that, certain age groups that aren't just coming back. Is that something that definitely you think will be
and there's definite fear, there's definite worry for that, and the concern for the church. And in my first month that I was here, Bill and I had a Zoom call with some folks that are the frontline people for the ECHO ministry. ECHO is a program out of the University of Notre Dame where graduate students in their theology essentially intern at different dioceses for a couple of years. And we have a cohort with us now. And Monsignor McGrath is one of the most wonderful folks on the face of this earth, and he's been very instrumental in mentoring these young people. And he was sharing a story of one of his students that was frustrated that a program that they had gotten off the ground, it was a beautiful program, well planned, well executed, but not a lot of people participated. And the student felt let down and he felt like he was letting the parish down because they just didn't have a lot of people. And Monsignor's response was, Jesus said, feed my sheep. Jesus didn't say, count my sheep.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that feed my sheep, don't count my sheep. So I think this notion of not getting hung up on numbers, but let's focus on the quality. Who's there? Let's give them something meaningful, something inspirational, something true to our faith, because from there it will grow. So I think patience is going to be important in terms of the future of the church. We might have to get smaller to get stronger. Yeah. We might have to, that may happen. And I don't think we should close our eyes to that or fight that. But if in getting smaller means we can be more intentional and more stronger in what we're giving to those folks that are present, from there it will grow. The numbers will come. We just have to be patient.
What great life advice, to be honest with you, in general. No, I'm not kidding.
You have to get smaller to grow.
Yeah, sometimes we try to do so much in life, and then we're basically hitting a wall, but we know we have to keep going, so we just keep hitting the wall instead of maybe taking just a few steps back to regroup. Mm-hmm. And so you're not doing as much as you would think, but you're doing it better. All right, so it's feed my sheep.
Don't count my sheep. Feed my sheep. Worry about what you're feeding them.
I like that. Listeners, obviously can't see us, but Mary and Ella looked at each other when Lee said that.
And that's Monsignor McGrath. I don't want to take that as mine. Monsignor McGrath.
Monsignor McGrath.
Please don't be mad at me, Monsignor.
We may have to interview him.
Yeah, maybe
I think he's got some stories.
Oh my goodness! So now we're kind of getting to the end of the podcast here. We always try to get some personal connection with our guests, right? So tell us something that people may not know about Lee the professional.
Lee the professional?
Lee the professional?
Or the non-professional.
Or the personal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This is the toughest question you've asked me. How about I have two beautiful boys I call them boys, but they're 20 and 23 years old. AJ and Steven, whom I love dearly, and my husband, David. Like I said, we've been, when my husband and I got married, he's from Cherry Hill area. And I'm from Delaware County. I'm from Media. I was born in Lansdowne, grew up in Media. Delco. So Dave's like, I can't take the Delco out of, you can take the girl out of Delco, but not the Delco out of the girl. So all my Delco people know what that means. But when we were engaged and we were trying to figure out where to live, and we literally looked at a map. And we said, okay, David's family's in Cherry Hill. My family's in Media. What's the midway point? And that's how we ended up in Gloucester County in Mantua. And we had no ties there. We wanted a suburban area that was close to highways that we can get to each family within a half hour or less, and that's how we ended up in.
Talk about compromise, people.
That's how the marriage started, and we're 25 years strong. So
to chime in on an old argument here, old argument on the podcast. When you looked at the map, did you say that's South Jersey, Central Jersey, or North Jersey?
South Jersey, and I'm very, very, very clear to say from South Jersey.
Okay, there you go.
There's a big difference.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you on the podcast. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to address in the last minute or so we have?
Oh my goodness! No, just that I love you two ladies. I think I think one of the privileges of being a part of the Diocese of Camden is the wonderful women that work here. So when people say that the Catholic Church is dominated by men, they have not come to the Diocese of Camden, because there are many wonderful women that are in very important positions here. It's a privilege to be with you.
Oh,
that was a nice way to end this. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We are really honored for your presence and your ministry here in the Diocese of Camden. And thank you very much for agreeing to do this podcast. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
I know Mike Walsh would say the same thing. And we missed you, Mike, but we had a great conversation.
No, we really didn't miss Mike.
This is true. So I guess you'll be out in parishes, so everybody can keep on looking for Lee as she's making her tours, right?
Yes, they will continue. I have 2 this week.
Get excited, and people remember that Catholic schools are still enrolling, and so if you're still undecided, if you want to make sure that your kids get that sense of community, connection, and core values, Catholic schools are also, the way to go. So with that, thank you so much for listening, and, come back.
Yeah, have a happy and safe July 4th week. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.